My son-in-law punched me right in front of the courthouse door and yelled at the top of his lungs, "You old loser! You're a disgrace to the family." My daughter stood there silently, her eyes downcast. In an instant, their faces turned pale as chalk as I calmly walked past them and took my seat in the jury box. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. Wade's finger tapped the laminated menu. Third time in 30 seconds. His cologne mixed with brisket smoke, expensive and obvious. $50,000, he kept saying. Revolutionary opportunity. I watched his hand drift toward his nose again. Fourth time since we sat down. His eyes tracked up and left when he mentioned guaranteed returns. 35 years reading jurors taught me something. Liars have patterns. Wade's pattern screamed louder than the lunch crowd at Franklin BBQ. "So, what do you say, Cornelius?" He leaned forward, sweat beaded at his hairline despite the air conditioning. 50 grand gets you in on the ground floor, residential development in Cedar Park, luxury townhomes, man. 6 months, you'll triple your investment. Beulah pushed coleslaw around her plate. My daughter hadn't looked at me once since they arrived. Not when Wade ordered for her, not when he launched into his pitch, not when his hand found her knee under the table. "We're talking premium finishes," Wade continued. "Granite countertops, smart home integration, the whole package. My partner Casper and I, we've got the permits locked down, the land secured." "Casper Rhodes?" The name tasted bad. "Same Casper who filed bankruptcy in 2022? Wade's hand went to his nose. "That was different. Business setback. He's solid now." "Solid. Rock solid. Look, Cornelius, I wouldn't bring this to family if I wasn't confident." His teeth were too white. Veneers, probably. "The market analysis shows—" "No." Wade blinked. "What?" I said no, Wade. Someone's phone buzzed. A chair scraped across concrete. The silence stretched like taffy until Wade's face started changing colors. Pink to red to something approaching purple. "You haven't even heard the full proposal." His voice climbed half an octave. "There's projected revenue streams, tax advantages." "Still no." His fist hit the table. Sweet tea sloshed. "You know what your problem is? You've always been a failure, too scared to take risks. That's why you died poor. Wait, you're not dead yet, but you will be, broke and alone." The only thing guaranteed here was that Wade had watched too many real estate infomercials. The hair gel probably cost more than his business plan. Beulah's fork clinked against her plate. "Wade, what?" He spun toward her. "He's being unreasonable. Tell him how we could use that money." She finally looked at me. Her eyes held something that might have been apology or might have been contempt. Hard to tell anymore. "The renovation's expensive," she said quietly. "The kitchen alone, you remodeled the kitchen last year." I kept my voice level, professional. "Quartz countertops, subway tile. I was there for the reveal, remember?" Wade slammed back in his chair. "That was the old kitchen. We're expanding. Beulah deserves nice things. Not that you'd understand, living in that, 1,000 square feet? 1,200? 1,400. Exactly my point." He jabbed the air between us. "You spent your whole life helping rich lawyers get richer, and what do you have to show for it? A Honda Civic and a mortgage you'll die with." My napkin was still folded in my lap. I wiped my mouth carefully, precisely. "Wade, I spent 35 years reading liars. You're not even in the top 100 I've seen. The nose touch is amateur hour." "You arrogant." The eye movement when you mentioned Cedar Park, that's called accessing constructed memory. You're making it up as you go. I stood. My knees creaked. 68 years of gravity taking its toll. Casper's bankruptcy wasn't a business setback. He ran a Ponzi scheme out of Round Rock, paid early investors with new investor money until the whole thing collapsed. Wade's mouth opened. Nothing came out. "I read the court documents while you were in the restroom earlier. Public record. Amazing what you can find on a smartphone these days." I pushed my chair in. "The permits you mentioned, they don't exist. I checked Cedar Park's Planning Commission website. No applications filed under Longhorn Property Ventures or any variant." Beulah's face had gone white. "Daddy, enjoy your brisket." The walk to my car took forever. My hands shook when I tried to unlock the door. First sign the composure was cracking. I slid into the driver's seat. Didn't start the engine. Just sat there breathing in the smell of old coffee and the pine air freshener that hadn't worked in months. Through the window, I could see them arguing. Wade's arms windmilled. Beulah's head dropped into her hands. My phone buzzed. Pierce. How did lunch go? Did you give Wade the money? I stared at the message. I'd never mentioned the meeting to Pierce. Never said a word about Wade's proposition. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Another buzz. Pierce. Dad, please tell me you said no. I found something about Wade. Call me. Now. Pierce's message glowed on my screen. I found something about Wade. Call me. Now. My hands still trembled from the confrontation. I watched Wade and Beulah emerge from Franklin BBQ, Wade's face matching the purple of a fresh bruise. They climbed into his Tesla, leased, not owned. I'd seen the paperwork at Thanksgiving. Wade pointed at my Honda before peeling out. Gravel pinged against metal. The parking lot felt suddenly enormous. I dialed. 2 rings. Dad, finally. Background noise, voices, keyboards clicking. Listen, you need to... Wade's in trouble. Real trouble. Slow down. What kind of trouble? Criminal. My buddy at the DA's office mentioned a real estate fraud case. Wade Burton. Has to be him, right? How many Wade Burton scam people in Austin? The word scam landed like a punch. You're sure? Dad, did you give him money? I said no. He didn't take it well. Pierce exhaled hard. Good. Listen, promise me you'll stay away from him. These fraud cases get nasty. People get desperate. I'll be careful. I mean it. Desperate people do stupid things. We talked for another minute. Pierce had to go. Meeting starting. I sat in my car for 20 minutes after we hung up, watching families load takeout into minivans, couples arguing over whose turn it was to drive. The drive home took 10 minutes. East 12th Street. My house looked smaller every time I came back to it. Yellow paint peeling near the gutters, lawn needing mowing. The place where Miranda and I raised 2 kids on a consultant's irregular income. Inside, I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door. Miranda's bowl, turquoise ceramic from that shop in Marfa. She'd been gone 6 years, but I still couldn't bring myself to use a different bowl. My laptop waited on the kitchen table. I opened Travis County court records, public access. Amazing what they put online now. 10 minutes of searching, and there it was. Case Nudiger Toomey 25 CR 08847. State of Texas, Veers, Wade Burton, and Casper Rhodes. 14 victims. $890,000 in fraudulent investments. Longhorn Property Ventures, LLC. Of course, Pierce knew something was wrong. The kid had inherited my radar for trouble, just upgraded it with a computer science degree and 1,000 LinkedIn connections. Modern surveillance beat old-school psychology by about 48 hours. I stayed up until midnight reading depositions, victim statements, forensic accounting reports. Wade and Casper had sold shares in fictional developments. Cedar Park, Round Rock, Pflugerville. None of it existed. They'd photoshopped permits, created fake LLC documents, built entire fantasy portfolios. The next morning, I shuffled to the mailbox in my bathrobe. Bills, grocery store flyers, a plain white envelope with Travis County Jury Services in the corner. I almost tossed it on the recycling pile. Jury duty, civic responsibility, and $3 a day. Then something made me actually read the date. March 19th. My phone rang. Unknown number. Austin area code. Cornelius, been too long. Bartholomew Chen's voice, warm and familiar. How's retirement treating you? Can't complain. What's on your mind, Bart? Funny thing. Got a case going to trial next week. Defendant's last name is Burton. Wade Burton. Thought the name sounded familiar. My grip tightened on the phone. That right? Yeah. Real estate fraud. Guy and his partner bilked investors for nearly $1 million. Thought you'd find it interesting, given your... He paused. Your daughter married a Burton, didn't she? Different guy, I'm sure. What's the trial date? March 19th. Judge Patterson presiding. Should be straightforward. We've got him cold. We talked shop for 5 more minutes. I kept my voice casual, interested but detached. The performance came naturally. 35 years of jury consulting meant I knew exactly what neutral sounded like. After we hung up, I stared at the jury summons. March 19th. My phone buzzed. Text from Patsy next door. Patsy, saw you got jury duty. Welcome to civic responsibility hell. Cornelius, how'd you know? Patsy. Saw the envelope. Same one I got last month. When's yours? Cornelius. March 19th. Patsy. Lucky you. Mine was a slip and fall, boring as dirt. I walked to the garage. Boxes lined the back wall, filed and labeled in Miranda's handwriting. I found the one marked Jury Selection, Case Studies 2015-2020. Inside, binders, notebooks, my entire methodology for identifying bias, coaching lawyers, reading body language, everything I'd learned about becoming the perfect juror or the perfect liar. 35 years helping lawyers rig, no, optimize, jury selection, and now the system randomly picks me for my own son-in-law's trial. Either God has a sense of humor, or the universe runs on irony. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table, jury summons on the left, printed court records on the right. Wade's case file spread between them like a poker hand. My email dinged. Subject: Travis County Jury Services. Important information regarding your summons. Standard questionnaire. I scrolled through the usual questions. Employment history, criminal record, medical conditions that might prevent service. Then question 15. Do you know any of the parties involved in case Sedgwick Handy 25 CR 08847? State of Texas versus Wade Burton and Casper Rhodes. My cursor blinked. I should check? Yes. Honest answer. That's what ends this before it starts. Question 16 appeared below. If you answered yes to question 15, please describe your relationship. A smile crept across my face. Slow. Calculating. I saved the form without answering. Not yet. First, I needed to remember exactly how jury consultants teach lawyers to spot bias. Because if I knew how to spot it, I knew how to hide it. My phone rang. Beulah's name lit the screen. First time she'd called since the restaurant. I let it go to voicemail. Beulah's voicemail went unheard. I spent 3 days with my old textbooks, jury selection psychology, margins filled with notes from 1995. The questionnaire from Travis County still sat on my kitchen table. Questions 15 and 16. Blank. March 19th arrived cold and bright. I dressed carefully. Khaki slacks, blue button-down, windbreaker from Target. The outfit said, retired middle class, civic-minded, zero agenda. At 8:30 a.m., I pulled into the courthouse parking garage on 10th Street. My hands stayed steady on the wheel. 3 days of preparation had done their work. The wounded father from Franklin BBQ was gone. I was a jury consultant going to work. I crossed the parking garage toward the main entrance. My phone buzzed. Text from Patsy. Patsy, remember what I told you? Boring. Don't volunteer anything. 2 days ago, she'd walked me through the process. 15 years in jury services gave her the playbook. You want to know how to get selected? She'd laughed. Cornelius, most people want out of jury duty. Humor me. Be boring. Middle-aged, retired, no strong opinions. Answer questions briefly. Don't volunteer information. And for God's sake, don't mention you were a jury consultant. What if they ask about my career? Call yourself a legal researcher, not a lie. You research jury behavior for lawyers. Just understate it. Now I applied that advice, weaponizing 3 decades of expertise. Near the courthouse entrance, 2 figures stood deep in conversation. Wade and a man in an expensive suit. Bryson Clark, probably. The attorney. Wade's body language screamed anxiety despite the tailored jacket. I walked toward them. Wade turned. His face went from normal to red in under a second. You? He spun completely around. What the hell are you doing here? Good morning, Wade. Did you follow me? Come to gloat? Civic duty. Got called for jury service. Wade laughed. Sharp. Harsh. Jury duty? That's rich. You'll be watching from the gallery while I beat this ridiculous case. A car door slammed. Beulah approached carrying a Nordstrom bag, then stopped short, seeing me. Her face went pale. Hello, Beulah? Dad, barely audible. She's with me, old man. Wade stepped closer. Where she belongs. I can see that. Beulah touched Wade's arm. Maybe we should go inside. No, I want him to hear this. Wade's voice climbed. You know what your problem is, Cornelius? You never understood success. That's why you're standing here in clothes from JCPenney while I'm... Bryson Clark cleared his throat. Wade, we should really... While I'm building an empire. An empire. I checked my watch. Is that what we're calling it? Wade's empire speech was beautiful. The Roman Empire took centuries. Wade's empire apparently took 3 months and a fraudulent LLC. Different scale, same ending probably. Your daughter chose me. Wade jabbed his finger at the air. Chose our future. You're just embarrassed she picked success over your mediocrity. I need to head inside. Jury assembly starts at 9. Jury, what? Jury duty, potential juror, case starts today. Wade's expression changed. What case? Bryson Clark suddenly became alert. Mr. Hawkins, what case number is on your summons? I showed the paper to the security guard, not Wade. 2025 CR 08847, Judge Patterson. Wade, that's... Bryson started. That's my case number. Wade's voice strangled. Small world. Bryson pulled out his tablet, checked something. His eyes found mine with new calculation. The moment he realized I shared Wade's last name through marriage, but didn't know the extent of our conflict. His expression showed it. Will this help or hurt? A sympathetic father-in-law on the jury could be beneficial. I read this thought process like a children's book. Wade wasn't wrong about J.C. Penney. The slacks were on sale. The difference was, I owned them. Wade's Armani suit, leased probably, like the Tesla, like the townhouse, like his integrity. Wade only felt panic. He remembered Franklin BBQ, remembered the contempt in my voice. You can't do this. I moved toward the entrance. Wade stepped into my path. Can't do what, Wade? Answer a jury summons? That's contempt of court. Bryson grabbed his shoulder. Wade, don't make this worse. Wade shook him off. His face turned purple, vein pulsing at his temple. You planned this? Somehow you... I planned getting randomly selected for jury duty? That's impressive, even for me. People stopped, watched. Someone had a phone out. Wade breathed hard. You think you're so smart. With your psychology degree, your jury consultant bullshit. But you're just a washed-up old man who... He stepped closer, coffee breath. Who nobody respects. Your own daughter picked me over you. Beulah made a small sound. Wade, please. I looked at her, then back to Wade. You finished? Wade's hand twitched. I saw it, the micro-expression, shoulder muscles tensing. 35 years reading witnesses taught you to spot violence before it happened. I didn't step back, held his gaze. Let him make the choice. Behind Wade, Bryson Clark's eyes widened. He saw it too. Wade, we need to go inside. Now. But Wade wasn't listening. Something had snapped behind his eyes. The desperation I'd read at Franklin BBQ was now panic. Cornered animal panic. You want to ruin me? His voice dropped. Quieter was more dangerous. You couldn't handle that I'm successful, that I'm everything you're not. Excuse me, Wade. I moved to walk past him. I need to get inside. His hand shot out, grabbed my arm. I'm not finished. I yanked free. Let go of me. Or what? You'll bore me to death with psychology lectures? The security guard started approaching. Gentlemen, is there a problem? Wade's voice rose, addressing the growing crowd. This man thinks he's smart, thinks his psychology degree makes him special. Wade, you're making a scene. You're the scene, standing there in your cheap clothes, pretending you matter. Bryson pulled at Wade's shoulder. Wade, seriously, we need to... You're just a washed-up old man, a failure. People gathered now. Morning courthouse traffic, lawyers, clerks, other jurors, all watching. You always look down on me. Wade's breathing accelerated. But you know what? You're nothing. Just an old failure who... You done? The slap came fast, sharp crack across my left cheek. Beulah gasped. Wade! I stood completely still, hand to my cheek, very calm. That was a mistake. Wade slapped like he'd learned from a YouTube tutorial. Open palm, telegraphed from Tuesday. My cheek stung, sure, but mostly my ego was bruised that this was the best he could do. Bryson gripped Wade's shoulder hard. What are you doing? There are witnesses. He disrespected me. The security guard moved between us. Sir, I'm going to need you to step back. I lowered my hand, looked at the guard. I'm here for jury duty. Case 2025 CR 08847. May I proceed inside? The guard looked at Wade, then me. Yes, sir. Do you want to file a report about the assault? I paused, looked at Wade, red-faced, humiliated, clearly unstable, then at Beulah, crying silently. A voice whispered, "What if he's right? What if I am using the system for revenge? What if this isn't justice, but cruelty?" The moment stretched, my cheek throbbed. I saw myself through their eyes, cold, calculating, unforgiving old man. Then I remembered Wade at Franklin BBQ. "You died poor. Oh wait, you're not dead yet, but you will be." I remembered Beulah's silence then, her silence now. The doubt crystallized into certainty. "No report." I looked at Beulah. "Beulah." She looked down, whispered, Nothing to say." She shook her head, crying silently. "Not worth my time." I turned back to the guard, then glanced at Wade. "I'm sure we'll discuss this later. Inside." The words left my mouth before I caught them. Bryson Clark's eyes narrowed. Damn. "Discuss this later. Inside" sounded like predetermined bias. Like I'd already decided his guilt. Bryson would remember that. The guard waved me through, gave me a small nod, respect for restraint. Behind me, through the glass doors, Bryson physically pulled Wade away from the entrance. Wade still shouted something. Beulah stood alone, shopping bag at her feet, hand over her mouth. I touched my cheek. It would bruise. Good. Signs pointed to jury assembly room 3A, third floor. The elevator filled with other potential jurors. They looked bored, resigned. None of them wanted to be here. I almost smiled. The doors opened. Room 3A was packed. 60, maybe 70 people. Folding chairs, fluorescent lights, coffee station. A clerk at the front with a clipboard, already tired. Names? Cornelius Hawkins. She checked her list. Hawkins, panel B, sit anywhere. We'll start voir dire in 20 minutes. I found a seat in the middle, not front, not back. Forgettable. My phone buzzed. Patsy. "How's jury duty?" I typed. "Interesting so far." Then I scrolled to a name I hadn't called in 5 years. Warren Hobbs, my old partner from the consulting days. The one who taught me everything about reading micro-expressions. The one who'd helped prosecutors before. The one who owed me a favor. My thumb hovered over call. The clerk's voice rang out. "All right, folks, welcome to jury service. Let's go over the process." I didn't press call, not yet. First, I needed to get selected. Then I'd need Warren's help with something else, something Wade would never see coming. Behind me, the courtroom doors opened. I didn't turn around, but I knew. Wade just entered the building. You could watch Bryson earning his retainer through the glass, calculating billable hours versus probable jail time for his client, wondering if assault charges cost extra. Spoiler, they do. The game had truly begun. The jury assembly room smelled like stale coffee and civic obligation. I sat middle row, invisible among 60 other potential jurors. Most scrolled phones, resigned to their fate. The woman beside me complained about missing work. The man behind me snored softly. I was the only one sitting straight, alert, ready. This was my Super Bowl. At 9:15, the clerk called Panel B to courtroom 3C. 20 potential jurors stood. We filed down the hallway, through double doors. Judge Willa Patterson presided. Black woman, 60s, stern, but fair. I'd consulted on a case before her 12 years ago. She wouldn't remember me. The prosecution table. Bartholomew Chen and a young assistant. Defense table. Bryson Clark in an expensive suit, confident posture. And Wade. Wade in a Navy suit that probably cost $3,000. Tie perfectly knotted. Hair slicked back. Playing successful businessman. His eyes scanned the entering jury panel without interest. He hadn't spotted me yet. Voir dire began. Standard questions. The dance I'd choreographed 100 times from the other side. Bartholomew Chen. "Mr. Hawkins, what was your profession before retirement?" "Legal researcher. I worked with attorneys." "Did that give you strong opinions about the legal system?" "Just respect for the process. I understand evidence matters." "Fair enough. No further questions." Bryson Clark scrutinized his notes. "Mr. Hawkins, you seem familiar. Were you at the courthouse earlier today?" "Yes. Arrived for jury duty around 8:30. "Did you witness any incidents outside?" "I saw a minor altercation. Nothing relevant to this case." His eyes narrowed. You're certain you can remain impartial? Absolutely. I've observed many trials. Evidence speaks for itself. I watched other candidates get dismissed. Woman who was a fraud victim, gone. Man who distrusted police, gone. Retiree who admitted prejudging based on appearance, gone. I mentally noted why each was eliminated and positioned myself as the opposite. When Bryson remembered my "discuss this later" inside comment from the courthouse, his questions sharpened. I deployed every masking technique I'd ever taught: measured tone, brief responses, zero defensive body language. The clerk called numbers. Jurors stood, walked forward, took seats in the jury box. Number 47, Cornelius Hawkins. I stood smoothly. Here, Judge Patterson. Mr. Hawkins, please take seat 4, second row. Yes, Your Honor. I walked past the gallery. Beulah sat frozen in the first row. I didn't look at her. I climbed into the jury box, settled into seat 4 like it was a throne, comfortable, padded, excellent view of the defense table. Then I looked up. Wade's eyes found mine. Understanding detonated across his face. Color drained so fast I thought he might faint. His mouth opened. His hands gripped the table, knuckles white. Wade's face went from tan to pale faster than a Florida sunburn in reverse. I'd seen that expression before, on witnesses who realized they'd just perjured themselves. The "oh no" look, the "my life is over" look. It never got old. Behind him, Beulah gasped. Her Nordstrom bag slipped from her lap to the floor. She didn't pick it up. Wade turned to Bryson Clark, mouth moving soundlessly. Bryson followed Wade's stare to me. Understanding clicked. His professional mask slipped, just for a second. Pure alarm. Wade started whispering urgently. Bryson's hand shot out, gripped Wade's arm. Shut up. Not here, not now. But Wade couldn't stop. His whispers grew louder. Other jurors noticed. Judge Patterson's gaze sharpened. Mr. Clark, is there a problem? Bryson stood, composure reassembled. No, Your Honor. My client is simply startled to see a familiar face. A familiar face? Judge Patterson looked at me, then at Wade. Is there a conflict I should know about? The moment. If Wade admitted I was his father-in-law, I'd be dismissed. If he stayed silent, he'd have me on his jury. Bryson Clark earned his law degree in that moment. You could watch him calculate. Dismiss the juror and explain the family connection and assault, or gamble that daddy-in-law might be sympathetic. He chose wrong. They always choose wrong when they panic. No conflict, Your Honor. We accept the jury. Wade's head snapped toward his attorney. His mouth opened, closed. The trap had sprung. Judge Patterson addressed the seated jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been selected to serve in a criminal trial. This is a serious responsibility. I'd heard similar speeches 100 times, never from this side of the room. Wade kept turning around, looking at me, forcing himself to face forward, like a kid in school who knows the teacher's watching. Except I wasn't the teacher. I was judge and jury. Well, 1/12 of the jury. The charges are serious: real estate fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery of official documents. The defendant, Mr. Wade Burton, has pleaded not guilty. Bryson Clark stood. Your Honor, before we proceed, I'd like to request a brief recess to confer with my client about... Request denied. We've already had 2 delays this morning. The jury is seated. We will proceed. Bryson sat down hard. Wade's hand shot out, gripping his attorney's sleeve. More frantic whispering. If any juror feels they cannot serve impartially, speak now. Silence. I sat perfectly still, impartial as a stone. Very well. Opening statements will begin after lunch recess. Jury is dismissed until 1:30 p.m. Do not discuss this case with anyone. We stood as the judge left. I filed out with the other jurors toward the deliberation room. Behind me, Wade's voice rose. We need to tell her. We need to... Bryson's response was sharp, urgent. But I was through the door before I caught it. In the hallway, Beulah stood waiting. She stepped in front of me. Dad, please, can we talk? I looked at her, really looked, red eyes, smudged mascara. You heard the judge. I can't discuss the case. I'm not asking about the... She stopped, swallowed. I'm sorry, about this morning, about everything. You made your choice, Beulah. I didn't choose. You did. This morning, at Franklin BBQ. Every time he disrespected me, and you said nothing. I started walking. That's a choice, she followed. Dad, wait. You don't understand? I stopped, turned. What don't I understand? That he's using you, that he's desperate and broke and taking you down with him? I understand perfectly. How did you? Her face changed. You knew about the trial. You planned this. I answered a jury summons, Beulah. That's all. You're lying. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. Go back to your husband. He's going to need you. The next few days will be rough. I walked away. Behind me, soft broken sounds followed down the hallway. I didn't look back. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. I know what you're doing. This won't work. I'll make sure of it. Wade. I deleted it without responding. Let him panic. Let him spiral. Let him make mistakes. That's what desperate people do. I ate lunch at Mozart's Coffee Roasters on Lake Austin. Outdoor table, view of the water, turkey sandwich I couldn't taste. Called Pierce. He answered on the first ring. How'd it go? I'm on the jury. Silence. Then, holy shit, Dad. You actually did it. Language. He laughed. It felt good to hear. What happens now? Now I listen to evidence. Do my civic duty. Dad, I know what you're thinking. And yes, I'll be fair. I'll vote based on facts. Another pause. Will there be facts? Plenty. Bartholomew doesn't prosecute weak cases. By 1:25 p.m., I was back in the jury box. Wade looked worse, tie loosened, hair mussed, sweat stains under his arms despite the air conditioning. Beulah wasn't in the gallery anymore. Judge Patterson took her seat. Opening statements. Prosecution, you may proceed. Bartholomew Chen stood. The real show began. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about greed, simple greed. The defendant, Wade Burton, and his associate Casper Rhodes created a fiction, a beautiful fiction. Luxury condominiums in Cedar Park. I watched Wade's jaw tighten. They had brochures, computer renderings, even fake permits. What they didn't have was land or permits, or any intention of building condos. Bartholomew projected images on the screen, glossy brochures, architectural drawings, happy families in front of buildings that didn't exist. Exhibit A7, bank transfer from victim Maria Gonzalez, $75,000 on October 12, 2024, supposedly for Unit 3B. The bank statement filled the screen. Where did that money go? Not to construction, not to architects. Directly to Wade Burton's personal checking account at First National Bank. Wade whispered to Bryson, "This is bullshit. It was business expenses." Bryson's whisper back, "Shut up, not here." By afternoon session, Wade looked like he'd been personally victimized by the courtroom air conditioning. Sweat stains mapped his armpits like continents. His $3,000 suit couldn't save him from looking like a guilty man melting in real time. If this was success, bankruptcy looked comfortable. During the afternoon recess, I walked past an attorney consultation room, door slightly ajar, voices inside, Wade and Bryson arguing. "Why didn't you get him removed? He's my father-in-law." You didn't tell me that until after he was seated, and even then challenging for cause would have required explaining why you're hostile to him. He's hostile to me, which would mean explaining that you hit him this morning in front of the courthouse. You want that on record? Silence. This is your fault. Your job is to protect me. My job is to defend you in court, not fix your family problems. Jesus, Wade, your own father-in-law is on the jury. What did you do to him? Nothing. He's just bitter, old and bitter and jealous of my success. Success? Wade, they have 14 victims. They have bank records. What part of this looks like success? The charges are exaggerated. Casper handled the money side. Oh, perfect. Blame your partner. That's your defense? I was too stupid to know we were committing fraud. Fuck you. No, fuck you. I'm trying to save your life here, and you're making it impossible. I stepped away from the door, heard enough. Back in the jury box, I took notes. Professional, objective, everything a good juror should be. A woman beside me, Winifred Palmer, 55, accountant according to voir dire, leaned over during a break. You know him, don't you? The defendant? Cold sweat. What makes you say that? She adjusted her glasses. Body language. The way you both avoid looking at each other, then when you do look, it's intense. I work with numbers, but I read people too. I kept my voice level. I'm here to judge evidence, same as you. She nodded slowly. Just seems personal, that's all. She didn't push further, but I'd been made, not by the attorneys, by another juror. If Winifred mentioned this during deliberations, it could compromise everything. The session ended at 4:30. Judge Patterson dismissed us with standard instructions. I filed out. Winifred walked beside me. Quite a first day. Certainly was. That defendant seems nervous, more nervous than most. People react differently to criminal trials. She smiled slightly. Indeed they do. In the parking garage, Patsy waited by my Honda. Did the errand? Your daughter's loading suitcases into a U-Haul van. Large suitcases, like running away-sized luggage. My stomach dropped. She's leaving him. Looks like. But here's the interesting part. She was arguing with Wade on the phone. I could hear her from the driveway. Patsy grinned. She said, and I quote, "I'm not going down with you. My father was right. You're a fraud in every sense." Beulah ran from our conversation like I'd told her puppies weren't real. Her expensive shoes making expensive sounds toward an expensive future that no longer existed. There's more. After she hung up, another woman arrived. Pretty, blonde, 30s. They hugged. The blonde started helping her pack. Friend? She called your daughter B. My phone rang. Pierce. Dad, Serafina's flying in tonight. She's going to help Beulah. Serafina, Pierce's wife. Why is Serafina involved? Because Beulah called her crying. Said she needed help leaving Wade. Said you were right about everything. Pierce paused. Dad, Beulah's breaking. She wants to talk to you. I can't. I'm on the jury. After the trial, then. Maybe. You're really going through with this, seeing it to the end. I have a civic duty. Right, civic duty. He didn't sound convinced. Dad, be careful. Wade's desperate. Desperate people. Do stupid things. You said that before. Because it's true. We hung up. I sat in my Honda, processing. Beulah leaving Wade. Serafina helping her escape. Wade unraveling in court. Everything falling into place. Too easily. That bothered me. It was all working too perfectly. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. You think you've won, but I know something you don't. About your precious daughter. About the money. Check your bank account. I opened my banking app. My checking account showed a transaction from 2 days ago. $50,000 withdrawal. Authorized signature, Beulah Hawkins. My blood went cold. That wasn't possible. Beulah wasn't on my accounts. Hadn't been since she married Wade. My phone rang. First National Bank. Fraud Department. Mr. Hawkins, we need to talk about some unusual activity on your account. There's been a claim that your daughter has power of attorney and authorized a transfer. Do you have any knowledge of this? I looked at Patsy. She read my face. What happened? Wade just opened a new front, and it's aimed at me. The bank fraud attempt failed. First National caught it within hours. Fake power of attorney, forged signature. Wade's fingerprints literally all over the documents. He'd handled them himself, apparently too desperate to hire professionals. The bank apologized profusely. I told them to file a police report, add it to Wade's growing collection. Day 2 of trial brought more victims. An elderly couple who'd invested their retirement savings. A young family who'd maxed out credit cards, believing in Wade's dream condos. Each testimony chipped away at Wade's facade. By day 3, he looked like a man standing at the edge of a cliff, watching the ground crumble. Then the title company employee took the stand. Everything got personal. Ms. Hayes, can you describe the documents you reviewed for Longhorn Property Ventures? Loretta Hayes adjusted her glasses. 40-something, professional, detail-oriented. Property transfer deeds, multiple addresses, Cedar Park, Round Rock, Austin proper. Any addresses stand out? Well, one seemed odd. 1847 East 12th Street. Older home, modest neighborhood. Didn't fit the luxury condo profile they claimed. My hand tightened on my notepad. 1847 East 12th Street. My house, my address. Nobody noticed my reaction, but internally I was screaming. Morning recess. I cornered Bartholomew in the hallway. That address, 1847 East 12th. That's my house. He stopped mid-stride. What? The title company witness. She mentioned my address. I need to see those documents. Cornelius, if you're a victim in this case, you can't be on the jury. Show me the documents first, then we'll figure out what to do. 5 minutes later, attorney conference room. Bartholomew laid out the deed. This is the transfer document, signed 3 months ago, October 2024. I stared at my signature, except it wasn't my signature. That's not mine. You're sure? I've signed my name for 68 years. I know my own signature. I pointed. See the H in Hawkins? Mine has a slight upward curve. This is straight. Wade forged my signature like a high school kid copying homework. Technically accurate, but lacking soul. After 68 years, I could sign my name, drunk, blindfolded, during an earthquake. This looked like someone traced it with a nervous hand and guilty conscience. Jesus, Wade was targeting you specifically. Before Franklin BBQ, before the jury summons, before everything, he planned this. The realization hit like ice water. The investment pitch, when he wanted $50,000, that was Plan B. Bartholomew frowned. Plan B? Plan A was stealing my house. When that didn't work, probably because your investigation froze his operations, he tried getting money directly. He's been circling me for months. Silence. Then Bartholomew, quietly, you know what this means for your jury service. It means I should have been recused from the start. It means this trial might be compromised. It means Wade wins. I have to tell the judge. Wait, Cornelius, give me until verdict. The evidence against him is overwhelming. My vote won't change the outcome. 11 other jurors will convict regardless. But if you reveal this now, mistrial. He walks, gets another trial, probably wins on appeal, citing tainted jury. You're asking me to hide material evidence of jury bias. I'm asking you to let justice proceed, for once. He studied me. Old colleague, old friend, deciding whether I'd crossed the line. Until verdict, he finally said. Then we deal with consequences. Afternoon session. Bryson Clark requested emergency sidebar. At the bench, he gestured toward the jury box, toward me specifically. Wade had told him about seeing me talk to the prosecutor during recess. Bryson claimed potential improper contact between juror and prosecution, requested investigation, possible mistrial. Judge Patterson questioned Bartholomew. Did you have contact with juror number 47 during recess? He asked about restroom location, Your Honor. Brief, innocuous. Technically true. I had asked about restrooms before approaching about documents. Bryson demanded I be questioned. Judge refused. I'm not interrogating jurors based on speculation, Mr. Clark. You have no evidence of misconduct. Request denied. Watching Bryson argue for mistrial based on improper contact was like watching someone try to put out a fire with gasoline. Wade was so desperate to remove me from the jury, he didn't realize that explaining why would require admitting everything. Check and mate, Wade. Wade's face fell. The counterattack failed because they had no proof, and claiming I was biased required admitting the family connection they'd been hiding, trapped by their own silence. Late afternoon, bathroom break. I stood at the courthouse window overlooking Congress Avenue, watched traffic, normal people living normal lives. I'd been a normal person, was a normal person. Now I was manipulating a criminal trial for personal revenge. Is this justice or vengeance? Wade tried to destroy me, yes. But I'm using the legal system as a weapon, hiding material evidence from the judge, lying by omission. I thought about Miranda. What would she say? Would she recognize me? Wade targeted you first. He drew first blood. The doubt crystallized into certainty. This isn't corruption. This is consequence. I returned to the jury box. After court adjourned, local news ran the story. Fraud trial update, 14 victims, $890,000 missing. Wade's photo, everywhere. Patsy called, "You're famous by proxy. Everyone's talking about that fraud case. Is that really Beulah's husband? Can't discuss it. I'm on the jury." "Right, but is it?" "Patsy." She laughed. "Fine, but the whole neighborhood knows. Pearl from 3 doors down recognized him from his Tesla, said he acted like Big Shot, but never paid his HOA dues. The community awareness building, Wade's reputation crumbling publicly while I watched from the jury box. Perfect. Court adjourned for the day. Judge Patterson addressed the jury. Tomorrow we conclude testimony, then closing arguments. You'll begin deliberations Friday morning. Friday, 2 days away. I walked to my Honda. Wade intercepted me in the parking garage, violation of court orders, but he was past caring about rules. You know, his voice shook. About the house. I kept walking. Cornelius, wait, I can explain. I stopped, turned. Explain what, Wade? How you forged my signature? How you planned to steal my house? How this wasn't just business, it was personal? I was desperate. The debts, the pressure, Casper was. You targeted me specifically, months before Franklin BBQ, before the jury. You've been hunting me this entire time. His face crumbled. I needed money. Your house was equity. I was going to buy it back eventually, I swear. With what money? The fraud money? The money from other victims? Silence. Here's what's going to happen, Wade. Tomorrow, testimony concludes. Friday, we deliberate. And I'm going to vote based on evidence. Just evidence, nothing personal. You're lying? Maybe. But here's the thing. I don't need to be biased. The evidence convicts you without my help. 14 victims, bank records, forged documents. You did this to yourself. I started walking. Cornelius! His voice echoed through the garage. If you convict me, Beulah suffers too. She's broke. She's leaving me, but she'll still suffer. I looked back once. Should have thought about that before you tried to destroy her father. Inside my Honda, my hands finally shook. The confrontation, the discovery, the moral weight, it crashed over me all at once. My phone buzzed. Text from Bartholomew. Judge wants to see us both. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. Before court. She knows something's wrong. My stomach dropped. Judge Patterson had noticed. She was going to ask questions, and I was going to have to decide. Tell the truth and lose everything, or lie and corrupt the system I'd spent my life respecting. 2 days until verdict. But first, I had to survive tomorrow's reckoning. I met Judge Patterson at 7 a.m. Her chambers, mahogany desk, law books floor to ceiling, American flag in corner. She didn't offer coffee. Mr. Hawkins, Mr. Chen, someone want to tell me what's happening in my courtroom? Bartholomew started to speak. I cut him off. Your Honor, 3 days ago, I learned the defendant attempted to defraud me personally, forge property documents, my house. I should have disclosed immediately. I didn't. Silence. Judge Patterson's expression could have frozen water. You've been sitting on my jury for 3 days knowing you're a victim? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chen, you knew this? Bartholomew nodded. Since yesterday morning, Your Honor, I advised Mr. Hawkins to disclose. He asked me to wait. More silence. The wall clock ticked. Then Judge Patterson did something unexpected. Mr. Hawkins, has your personal involvement affected your ability to evaluate evidence objectively? No, Your Honor. The evidence speaks clearly, regardless of my connection. That's not what I asked. I asked about your ability, not the evidence's strength. I met her eyes. I believe I can be fair. She studied me. 30 seconds felt like hours. Against my better judgment, I'm going to let this play out. Mr. Hawkins, you will continue as juror, but understand, if there's any indication of bias during deliberations, I'll declare mistrial immediately. Clear? Yes, Your Honor. And Mr. Hawkins, after this trial, we're going to have a very long conversation about ethics and the legal system. I nodded. Stay of execution. But I was on borrowed time. Day 4, defense case. Character witnesses testified Wade was honest, trustworthy, misunderstood. They were weak, clearly coached. Prosecution demolished them on cross-examination. Final witness, Wade himself took the stand. Against Bryson's visible advice. Wade testified he was junior partner. Casper Rhodes controlled everything. Wade believed investments were legitimate. Classic, I was duped too defense. Bartholomew destroyed him. Showed emails Wade sent soliciting investors. Bank transfers Wade personally authorized. Text messages discussing covering tracks. Mr. Burton, you claim Casper Rhodes controlled the finances, but these emails show you soliciting investors. Can you explain? Wade, I was following Casper's instructions. I didn't know they were fake. This email from you says, make sure permits look official. Doesn't that suggest knowledge of forgery? That's taken out of context. What about this text to Casper? Keep the old man's house transfer quiet until we can liquidate. Who's the old man? Wade froze, realized he'd perjured himself in front of me. That was a mistake. Wrong address. A mistake or fraud? Wade had no answer. By afternoon session, Wade looked demolished, suit jacket off, tie loose, hair disheveled, face pale except red-rimmed eyes. During Wade's redirect, Bryson asked, "Wade, did you intend to harm anyone?" Wade cried, actually cried. "No, never. I made mistakes, but I'm not a criminal. I was trying to provide for Beulah, for our future. I just wanted to be successful." I wrote in my notepad, "Manipulative tears, classic narcissist play." Winifred Palmer, the accountant sitting beside me, glanced at my notepad, saw the comment. Her expression changed. Friday morning, jury deliberation. We filed into the deliberation room, 12 jurors, 1 table, 18 counts to decide. Bradford Willis, our presiding juror. "All right, let's discuss the case. Anyone want to start?" I jumped in. "I'll start. The evidence is overwhelming. Wade Burton is guilty on all counts. The bank records alone." Winifred Palmer interrupted. "Perhaps we should review all evidence systematically before jumping to conclusions." "We don't need to review. It's clear. 14 victims, $890,000, forged documents. Mr. Hawkins, you seem very personally invested in this verdict." Other jurors looked at me with new attention. "I'm not personally invested. I'm following the evidence." "Are you?" "Because I've been watching you during trial. You take more notes than anyone. You stare at the defendant constantly. You wrote manipulative tears during his testimony. That seems personal." I realized my critical error, showed too much bias. 35 years teaching lawyers to read jurors, and I got read by a juror who wasn't even trying. An accountant. She counted my tells like spreadsheet entries. Suspicious glances, 47. Aggressive comments, 12. Personal intensity, off the charts. I'd been audited. I apologize if I came across aggressively. I spent my career in legal research. Maybe I'm too eager. Or maybe you know the defendant personally. Silence in the jury room, everyone waiting for my response. "I don't know Mr. Burton personally, but you're right. I should let the evidence speak rather than my opinions. Shall we review systematically?" Bradford Willis nodded. "Good idea. Let's start with victim testimony." I stayed quiet. Let others discuss. Only contributed facts when asked. Later, Winifred, "Mr. Hawkins, what's your professional background?" "I was a legal researcher, worked with attorneys on jury cases." "That's why you're so familiar with court proceedings." "Yes, 35 years. Old habits." Hour 6 of deliberation. Winifred had questioned every piece of evidence, made me explain reasoning for each count. I'd been flawless, pure facts, no emotion, methodical as a machine. One elderly woman. "Can we just vote already? It's almost 6 p.m. Bradford Willis. "We need unanimous decision. Ms. Palmer, are you ready to vote?" Winifred looked at me one final time, measuring, calculating. "Yes, I'm ready." "All in favor of guilty verdict on count 1, real estate fraud?" 12 hands. "Count 2, conspiracy to commit fraud?" 12 hands. Through all 18 counts, unanimous, guilty. I felt no triumph, only exhaustion. I'd won but nearly lost everything by overplaying my hand. The victory tasted like ash. Bradford knocked on the deliberation room door. "We have a verdict." We filed into courtroom, 6:15 p.m., Friday evening. Wade stood as we entered, face white as paper. "Judge Patterson, has the jury reached a verdict?" Bradford, "We have, Your Honor." "On the charge of real estate fraud in the first degree, how do you find?" "Guilty, Your Honor." Wade made a sound, half gasp, half sob. Beulah put hand over mouth. In the gallery, victims began crying. 18 counts, 18 guilty verdicts, each one a nail in Wade's coffin. "Mr. Burton, you have been found guilty on all charges. Sentencing will be scheduled for April 15th. Bail is revoked. Bailiff, take him into custody." Wade turned to Beulah. She looked away. He turned to me. Our eyes met. I kept my expression neutral. Job done. The bailiff handcuffed Wade, led him through the side door. He walked like a condemned man. Judge Patterson dismissed the jury. "Thank you for your service. You may speak about the case now. You're free to go." In the hallway, Winifred stopped beside me. "I still think you know him, but the evidence was overwhelming regardless. So maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't." She walked away. Patsy appeared. "Well, guilty. All counts." She grinned. "You did it. We did it. The evidence did it." "Sure, the evidence." She didn't sound convinced. "What happens now?" "Now he gets sentenced. 5 to 10 years probably. Restitution to victims. His life is over." "And you?" "Good question. I'd corrupted my own ethics, used the system I respected as a revenge weapon, lied to a judge, manipulated a jury, won my case. I go home and figure out if I'm a hero or a villain." My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. "You haven't won yet. There's still one thing you don't know about. Check your credit report." W. Wade. Final message before jail. I opened my credit monitoring app. There, dated 2 weeks ago. Hard inquiry from Longhorn Property Ventures, attempting to open credit cards in Cornelius's name. Identity theft. $30,000 in fraudulent charges. Wade had been burning my financial life from multiple angles. "Patsy, I need to call my bank. And maybe a lawyer. Wade left landmines." "What kind of landmines?" I showed her the screen. She whistled. "He really wanted you destroyed." "Yes, he did. And I wanted him destroyed right back." I looked at the courthouse, at the justice I'd bent to my will. "Question is, who's more dangerous, the fraud or the vigilante?" She had no answer, neither did I. As I walked to my Honda in the dark parking garage, I felt something unexpected, not satisfaction, not relief, but emptiness. I'd won. So why did it feel like I'd lost something irreplaceable? "Final vote," Bradford Willis said. "Count 18, conspiracy to defraud. All in favor of guilty?" 12 hands rose, including Winifred's. She looked at me one last time. "I still don't trust you completely, but the evidence doesn't lie." "No," I said quietly, "it doesn't." We filed back into the courtroom. Wade stood as we entered, face the color of old newspaper. Bryson Clark's hand gripped his shoulder, lawyer's last gesture of professional solidarity before abandonment. Judge Patterson's voice cut through the silence. "Mr. Willis, has the jury reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor." This was it. The moment I'd engineered, manipulated, bent the rules to achieve. Justice or revenge? I still wasn't sure which. Maybe both. Maybe neither mattered anymore. "On count 1, real estate fraud in the first degree. How do you find the defendant?" "Guilty, Your Honor." Wade made a strangled sound. Beulah gasped from the gallery. "Count 2, conspiracy to commit fraud?" "Guilty, Your Honor." 18 counts, 18 guilty verdicts. Wade's body language collapsed with each one. Judge Patterson didn't hesitate. "Mr. Burton, you have been convicted of defrauding 14 innocent people of their life savings. This court sentences you to 5 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, followed by 5 years supervised release. You will make full restitution of $890,000 to your victims. Your real estate license is permanently revoked in the state of Texas." Wade's voice barely audible. "Your Honor, I'm not finished. The bailiff will take you into custody immediately. You have the right to appeal." Bryson Clark stood. "Your Honor, we will be filing an appeal." "I'm sure you will, Mr. Clark." "Bailiff." Wade's knees buckled. Bryson literally held him upright. The bailiff approached with handcuffs. Wade's hands shook so badly he couldn't clasp them together. The bailiff had to guide his wrists into the cuffs. In the hallway afterward, during the brief pause before transport to holding, Wade broke free from the bailiff's grip, not escaping, just confronting. He approached me, trembling with rage and terror. You planned this. You knew about my trial." I stayed calm. "I learned about your case by chance. But getting on the jury? Yes, Wade, I arranged that. That's jury tampering. That's using expertise. I spent 35 years teaching attorneys how to select jurors. I know every trick, every loophole, every technique. I just applied them to myself." "You're biased. You're my father-in-law. You can't..." But I wasn't biased. I evaluated evidence objectively. The bank records were clear. The victim testimony was credible. The forged documents spoke for themselves. I voted based on facts, not feelings. His face crumbled. This is revenge! Pure revenge! Revenge? Wade, you forged my signature. You tried to steal my house. 3 months before Franklin BBQ, before jury duty, before any of this, you targeted me specifically. You wanted to destroy me. I was desperate, and now you're convicted. By the way, the prosecution filed additional charges this afternoon. Identity theft, attempted property fraud, the credit cards you opened in my name, the forged deed. Those are separate crimes, Wade. You're looking at more than 5 years. His whisper barely reached me. No, that's not. Yes, it is. You wanted to destroy me. Instead, you destroyed yourself. Beulah! He spun toward her. Tell him I was trying to provide for us. Beulah stood with Serafina, crying. I can't, Wade. I can't defend this. Wade turned back to me. You've taken everything. My freedom, my wife, my career. Are you happy? No, Wade, I'm not happy. But I am satisfied. There's a difference. What difference? Happy would mean no one got hurt. Satisfied means the right person got hurt. Behind Wade, victims walked past. Maria Gonzalez spat at his feet. The elderly couple shook their heads in disgust. Wade tried. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. The man interrupted. You're sorry you got caught. They walked away. Wade stood alone in handcuffs, friendless, despised. Time to go, Mr. Burton. The bailiff's voice was final. Wade looked at Beulah one last time. She'd turned away, face buried in Serafina's shoulder. He looked at me, found no sympathy, no mercy, just cold satisfaction. I loved her, he whispered. I loved Beulah. That was real. Then you should have loved her better. The bailiff led him away. His expensive shoes echoed down the corridor toward holding cells. The doors closed. Wade Burton disappeared. I stood in the empty hallway and felt nothing. Not triumph, not joy, just exhaustion. Beulah approached, mascara ruined, clutching Serafina for support. Dad, I'm sorry. For everything. For not defending you. For choosing him. I held up my hand, stopped her. Beulah, I want you to understand something. I didn't destroy Wade. Wade destroyed Wade. I just made sure the system worked. That's all. Justice isn't revenge when someone genuinely deserves consequences. She nodded, crying harder. But here's what you need to hear. My voice dropped, cold and final. You made choices. You stood silent when he hit me. You chose his money over my dignity. Those choices have consequences too. Not legal consequences, personal ones. I know, Dad. I'm not saying I won't forgive you eventually, but forgiveness takes time. Trust takes longer. And right now, Beulah, I don't trust you. Maybe someday, not today. She broke down completely. Serafina led her away. I stood alone, watching my daughter leave. I won. Why does it feel like I lost something irreplaceable? Later, sitting on a courthouse bench, I pulled out my phone, scrolled through photos, found one. Beulah's wedding day, 8 years ago. She was laughing, beautiful, happy. Wade beside her, young and ambitious, not yet corrupted. Me in the photo too, smiling, proud father. Different people, different world. I closed the photo. Patsy appeared, sat beside me without asking. You okay? I won? That's not what I asked. Long silence. No, I'm not okay, but I will be. When? Ask me in a year. She nodded. We sat together in the empty hallway. 2 neighbors who became allies in a war neither wanted. Outside, the sun set over Austin. Traffic noise distant. Life continuing. Let's go home, Patsy. Home sounds good. We walked toward the parking garage together. Behind us, courthouse lights began switching off. Another day ending, another case closed, justice served, price paid, life moving forward, whether we were ready or not. 1 month disappeared like morning fog. April arrived with bluebonnets and brutal Texas heat. Wade sat in Travis County Jail, awaiting transfer to state prison. His appeal was filed. Pro forma, no real chance. Bryson Clark had washed his hands of the case, passed it to a public defender. Beulah lost the house. Bank foreclosure, inevitable. She moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Cedar Park, returned to teaching 3rd grade. Serafina stayed 2 weeks helping her rebuild, then flew back to Portland. Pierce called every few days. Dad, how are you? Fine. You don't sound fine. I won, Pierce. Wade's in prison. My house is secure. Justice prevailed. Then why do you sound like you lost? Good question. No good answer. I went through motions, watered plants, read books, played chess in Zilker Park with strangers. Patsy brought casseroles. Life continued, ordinary and empty. Then, late April afternoon, my doorbell rang. Beulah stood on my porch, thin, no makeup, hair in simple ponytail. Looked younger, or older, hard to tell. Hi, Dad. Beulah, can we talk? I should have said no, should have closed the door, should have maintained the boundary I'd drawn in that courthouse hallway. Instead, I stepped aside. Come in. We sat at my kitchen table, coffee between us like a neutral zone. Late afternoon sun through the window. She wrapped her hands around the mug like an anchor. I'm not here to make excuses. I know what I did. I stood silent when Wade hit you. I chose money over integrity. I let fear control me. I said nothing. Let her talk. I've been thinking about when it changed, when I became someone who'd betray her father. She wiped her eyes. It was gradual. Wade would criticize you, small things at first. Your dad's stuck in the past. He doesn't understand success. I'd laugh it off. Then I'd agree sometimes. Then I'd believe it. Gaslighting. Yes, but I let it happen. I wanted the dream. Nice house, nice car, comfortable life. And every time Wade promised that, I ignored the red flags. Deep breath. At Franklin BBQ, when he pitched the investment, I knew. Dad, I knew it was fraudulent. I've known Wade was running scams for months. But I told myself, if I just stayed quiet, we'd make it through. My coffee went cold in my hand. When he hit you, her voice broke. I should have screamed, should have left him right there. But I froze, paralyzed by fear of losing everything. And I lost you instead. Tears flowing freely now. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm sorry for betraying you, for choosing wrong, for being weak when you needed me strong. Silence. Kitchen clock ticking. Outside, a lawnmower. Kids playing. Finally, I spoke. Beulah, I need you to understand something. I forgive you. I do. You're my daughter. I'll always love you. That doesn't change. Hope flickered in her eyes. But I held up my hand. Forgiveness doesn't mean trust. Forgiveness is what I give you because I choose healing over bitterness. Trust is what you earn back through actions over time. They're different things. I understand. Do you? Because trust isn't rebuilt with one apology. It's rebuilt with consistency, with choosing right even when it's hard, with proving you've changed, not just saying it. She nodded, crying quietly. Here's what I can offer. We start over. Not as we were. That's gone. But as two people learning to be family again. You can visit, we can talk. But I won't pretend the betrayal didn't happen. And I won't give you second chances lightly. That's fair. More than fair. And Beulah, you need to rebuild yourself first. Figure out who you are without Wade, without the money pressure, without the fear. Pierce offered you a fresh start in Portland. Take it. Get therapy, find yourself. Then we'll see where we are. You want me to leave Austin? I want you to heal, and you can't do that here, surrounded by reminders of what you lost. Long pause. Then she nodded. Okay, I'll go. But Dad, can I hug you? Just once? I hesitated, then stood. Opened my arms. She fell into them, sobbing. I held her like I did when she was small, when monsters were imaginary and problems were solved with Band-Aids. I love you, kiddo. I love you too, Daddy. We stayed like that until the tears stopped, then separated, returned to chairs, finished coffee that had gone cold. Days later, Pierce visited. Brief trip from Portland with Serafina. Dad, you did what you had to do. Did I? Or did I corrupt the system I believed in for personal revenge? The system let him try to steal your house. You just used the system back. Two wrongs don't make a right, Pierce. That's what I taught you kids. Sometimes they make justice, and sometimes justice is messy. Patsy was more direct. Stop beating yourself up. Wade got what he deserved. And what did I get? Your house, your dignity, your revenge. What more do you want? I want to feel good about it. I want to feel like the hero, not the manipulator. Honey, real life doesn't have heroes and villains, just people making choices. You made yours. live with them. Now, early May, my life has shape again. Different shape, but shape. Mornings, coffee on the porch. The retired Filipino couple 2 doors down waves. Kids walk to school. Normal life. Tuesdays, chess in Zilker Park. Won a tournament last week. $50 gift card to book people. Small victory. Clean victory. Thursdays. Volunteer at Austin Public Library, teaching seniors about fraud prevention. Use Wade's case anonymously as cautionary tale. Find purpose in protection, not revenge. Evenings, read more. Crime novels mostly, ironic. Sometimes call Pierce. Video chat with Serafina and Beulah. Group calls, neutral territory. The house, still 1847 East 12th Street. Still modest, but secure. Title clear, no liens. Garden needs work. I'm planting tomatoes. Simple, honest growth. Tomorrow, Beulah leaves for Portland. Tonight, we're having dinner, neutral restaurant, neutral conversation, building something new from the ruins of something old. My phone rings. Unknown number. I almost ignore it. Hello? Mr. Hawkins? This is Winifred Palmer, from the jury. My stomach tightens. Ms. Palmer, what can I do for you? I did some research after the trial. You're not a legal researcher. You were a jury selection consultant. Very successful one. Pause. I also discovered Wade Burton is your son-in-law. Or was. You manipulated that trial, Mr. Hawkins. Silence. The evidence was solid. I'm not disputing the verdict. But your presence on that jury was a violation. Why are you calling, Ms. Palmer? Long pause. Because I want you to know someone figured it out. Someone knows what you did, and I'm not going to report it. Why not? Because Wade Burton tried to steal your house. Because he targeted you specifically. Because the system failed you first, and you used it back. Another pause. But Mr. Hawkins, don't ever serve on a jury again. Don't corrupt the system twice. I won't. Good. The verdict was right, but the method was wrong. Remember that. She hangs up. I stand holding the phone, heart pounding. Someone knows. Someone will always know. I delete the number. Go back to watering tomatoes. I stand in my kitchen, looking at the refrigerator magnet photo. Beulah, Pierce, and me from years ago. Before Wade, before fraud, before choices that couldn't be undone. The system worked, but I bent it to make it work. Wade's in prison, but I'm living with what I did to put him there. Maybe that's fair. Maybe that's just life. I place the photo back. Go to water my tomatoes. The garden grows regardless of my sins. Life continues regardless of my conscience. And sometimes that has to be enough. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.